Today we're going to turn this nonsense into this goodness. Let's get started. It sounds like a zoo in the shop today because we have some birds that are outside the shop, but we can hear them all the way through the shop. It sounds like a zoo, so I do apologize for that. But we've been on vacation, Mrs. Wizard.
It was long overdue.
We went on a cruise to St. Thomas, Dominican Republic, and the Bahamas. And I got to see Miami. It was really, really cool. While we were gone, I had to keep my guys busy. And luckily we had all of our cars that we own needed something fixed on them. It didn't require calling customers, ordering parts, but it kept the guys earning a paycheck and we get a fixed car. And they were totally happy with that. This is Mrs. Wizard's 2008 Mustang Shelby GT500. If you've been watching Hoovie's Garage or saw previous videos that we've done on this car, actually did some work for Hoovie, did some trading and whatnot, and ended up canceling out his bill for him to help him out. And in exchange, I got a 210,000 mile GT500 and I gave it to Mrs. Wizard. Do you like it, Mrs. Wizard?
I do, but I'm worried about the premise of this wonderful gift with 200,000 miles.
It does have a lot of miles, but it drives perfectly now. Before we left for vacation, it had clunky suspension. It was really bad. The tires would shake, which it still does that. And many of you who have these Mustangs, it doesn't matter if it's a V6, a V8, a GT500, they all have the fabric on the door cards or the door panels that just falls onto your arm while you're driving. The glue fails. And we have a fix for that we're going to show you. Here in a minute we'll dive into the tricks I've used to get some nice wheels for less than $50. But before we dive into that, let's get this thing up in the air. We've already seen around the edges of it on previous videos. Let's talk about the things we fixed to fix the clunking. So let's show the old parts that Danielson removed from this and why they were replaced and also what was causing the noise. Mrs. Wizard mentioned she had some wobbly, kind of a wallowing steering. I'll show you what caused that. These are the lower control arms. You can see the ring of crack all the way around the rubber there. These ball joints are just floppy loose. And look at that, guys. That is completely separated and torn. Also on the other side. Now the comment could be made, why don't you just replace the bushings and ball joints? They're not really replaceable on these control arms as far as the ball joints. Also, the cost to buy all those and the time to install them was actually cheaper just to get the control arm. That you saw the separation of the rubber. Those were flexing when you steer and it makes the wheels do this and you get that weird feeling. Now it had some serious clunking. Let's show you what that was. Look at these front sway bar bushings, guys. They're the shape of an egg. The sway bar was literally just bouncing up and down inside of those bushings. Here's some of the rear ones. They're slightly egg-shaped, just enough to make clunking noises. We also replaced the sway bar links while we were there because those were loose as well. This thing sounded like a rattle trap going down the road. It was really bad. And lastly, we had some kind of a weird feeling in the rear end when you get on it.
Whoa, you had a weird feeling in the rear end, Wizard?
When you have this much power, it's normal. We've seen what Mustangs can do to crowds. They can literally fishtail and hurt people, and it's really crazy. But this one was abnormally amount of fishtail feeling to it, and I'll show you why. These are the rear track bars that go to the rear axle, and you can see the rubber is all cracked up. It's actually separating from where the metal center collar is. I'll show you the other one. See all the dry rot rubber there, and also up here. Pretty bad. These parts I've shown you have 210,000 miles on them. They're all original. Now they've been replaced. Let's take a look at what they look like on the car.
Wizard, so you were letting me drive around town with all of that mess?
None of it was dangerous. It was just gave an experience when you're driving that's not optimal for one of these cars. And the noise was annoying, but it wasn't dangerous. So here's our lower control arms. You can see they're greasable now. We can extend the life of these by greasing them periodically. Brand new rubber bushings, no more tears in them that I can put my screwdriver in. Here's a sway bar link. Nice and brand new, no more clunking there. And brand new black polyurethane bushings, which also have a grease zerk on them so they can be greased as well. Same thing on this side. All this has been fixed to where clunking is completely gone. Let's head on to the rear. Here we have the rear track bars, you can see here. Trailing arms, whatever you want to call them. Nice new rubber bushings. Right here we have an actual sway bar link with bushings all combined in one unit. It kind of is a drop bar, I guess you could call it. All new bushings there, polyurethane again. And right here we have the actual sway bar bushing that goes to the axle with a grease zerk. Again, all these are nice black polyurethane. Same thing on this side. And all this work is making me pretty hungry, Mrs. Wizard.
You're always hungry.
I'm always hungry, but I'm exceptionally hungry right now. Let's go solve that. I'd like to share with you something I've discovered that's been a lifesaver for me. As you can imagine, it gets insanely busy here at the shop. My days are busy with diagnosing cars, ordering parts, writing invoices, answering questions, and filming videos for you guys. If it weren't for Factor, the sponsor of today's video, there'd be days I would never get lunch. I can just pop one of Factor's prepared, never frozen meals into the microwave and have a chef-prepared, delicious meal that beats boring, unhealthy fast food in just 2 minutes. They are so convenient, I don't have to go to the grocery store, I don't have to make a mess in the kitchen, I don't have to turn on the oven and make the house even warmer during these hot summer days. I do get to choose from 35 meals and over 60 add-on options. I really like their Protein Plus meals, but they also offer Keto, Calorie Smart, Chef's Choice, and Veggie Plus meals too. If you'd like to simplify your life too, head to factor75.com or click the link below and use CarWizard50 to get 50% off your first Factor box and 20% off your next month of orders. That's code CarWizard50 at factor75.com to get 50% off your first box plus 20% off your next month of orders. Now that I've had a bite to eat, let's get back to that wonderful Mustang. So now I've had a snack to recharge. I want to show you guys something on the door panel here that we did that's really cool. How many of you have one of these 05, 6, 7, 8, 9 Mustangs where this vinyl or leather, whatever is here, is falling onto your arm? There's this nasty foam behind there and you're really getting tired of it. This is a fix that's actually sold on Amazon. This is plastic. It's no longer vinyl, floppy leather or anything like that. You take your door panel off, take this handle off and take this all apart. You just pull off that old stuff and put on this panel over it and reassemble your door. It's really, really nice. The old vinyl or leather was black, so we matched that again with black here. And it just, like I said, so good. Let's go check out what I can do for you on your wheels. The wheels on this were really rough. They had really bad etching and the clear coat has some issues going on. I'm going to show you guys today a quick trick that'll get some nice looking wheels without costing $200 per wheel to have them refinished. Now, is this going to be showroom perfect that you could put it on Concours d'Elegance and get points on it? Like factory fresh? No. No, not at all. You have to remember, this has 210,000 miles on it. I want it to look nice and presentable, but I'm not interested in dumping thousands of dollars into this car because of the high mileage. It'll never be worth a 20,000 mile GT500. It just never will. But we still want it to look nice, and it does look a lot better. The 3 items I'm going to be using today is actually 3 different cans, and no, I don't have a sponsorship for any of these. This is personally what I've used in the past, and it works so good. It's very strong finish when it's done. I start out with preparing the wheel, which I'll show you in a minute. Then I use SEM self-etching primer. This stuff is very, very strong. It actually chemically almost melts itself into the material and has a strong adhesion for you. Now you can use wheel paint if you want, but I actually use caliper paint, which I have Duplicolor caliper paint in silver. It's an aluminum color. And the reason why I like caliper paint, because it's got ceramic in it. It's made for high heat, brake dust, chip resistant. It's extremely strong, very powerful paint. I've used this before on other wheels and it's very good. And lastly, Duplicolor wheel gloss, which is just a clear coat. There's basically 4 steps. You prepare the wheel, then you put the primer on, then you put the caliper paint, then you clear coat it. You're done. And just in case in the future you want to have this professionally coated with some sort of a dip coating or something like that to make them look like showroom ready, you still can do that. They'll just take off the finish that you put on and start from scratch. This is just something that you can do in your driveway, less than 50 bucks, and you have some nice looking wheels. It'll last 3 to 5 years. I've had some last a little longer than that. It really works really well.
Really? You've had a car for longer than 3 years?
Yes, I actually have, Mrs. Wizard.
Oh, wow. I know you guys are shocked too.
So I'll start with the really nasty wheel. You saw at the beginning of the video, the finished product looks really, really nice. Yes, these are OEM Shelby GT500 wheels. And a set of these can be easily $2,000, $1,500 for a set of perfect ones. And it's very hard to find perfect ones. That's a loud bird, Mrs. Wizard.
He's serenading you.
Yeah. Anyways, it's really hard to find perfect ones because most of these have been road rashed by now. This is a simple solution. Mrs. Wizard will cruise this car and it'll look nice, it'll present well, it'll be very resistant to scratch or any kind of brake dust, and it didn't cost literally $1,000 or more to get it done. Let's start with the nasty wheel. Step 1. The first thing we're going to do is just use a little extension or something and pop out the center logo. We don't want to paint the SVT caps, the center caps, so we'll get that out of the way. And yes, I know I painted all over the tire. I don't care. Because it's getting new tires and new valve stems. So I don't need to tape this off. You may want to tape off your tire and everything. You can do that with masking tape so it can keep paint from getting on your tires. But like I said, it's getting all 4 new tires. I really don't care if there's paint on them. These tires are trash. These have clear coat starting to peel on them. You want to take a razor blade and lightly go along. There's lots of places where it just flakes off. Just kind of run a razor along. You can see flakes already popping up. Like that. There's a lot of loose clear coat that we need to remove. If you just paint over this like it is, it'll flake off and it'll have weird textures and patterns to it, and you don't want to do that. So we need to go through and remove all the loose clear coat. The next step is I actually have a wire brush on a little drill motor, or drill, whatever you want to call it. Now we have all this exposed and open, I'm going to go through and really dig deep, not to gouge it, but just to remove any kind of corrosion or anything like that. The next step is the good clear coat that's not damaged or etched or anything like that. It's still good and strong holding. We can paint over that with etching primer, but you need to rough it up so it's not smooth and silky and shiny where paint will peel off. You just go through and rub all of the painting surfaces you're going to paint with some red Scotch-Brite pad. And if you can see in the camera, you can see it's starting to turn like a white color. That's because I've buffed it to where there's little micro scratches all in the clear coat. And that's great because our etching primer is going to dig down into that and have a nice adhesion to it. Okay, and basically you want to do that all over the whole wheel. Don't forget these little pockets here, in between the spokes. You want to get those roughed up as well so that the primer will stick to it really well. And also inside where the lug nuts go, where the studs go, you want to roll up like this and just work it inside of the area, just like that. Once you get all that done, you're going to have a dusty wheel with dust. You don't want to paint over dust. So you take your air gun. I'm not going to do it on camera because it's so loud it'll blow you guys' eardrums out. I'm not going to do that. But you'll take and blow all the dust off. And you take a rag with denatured alcohol, which will prep and clean the surface. I have a giant drum of it here. And just go through and clean it really well. Again, in between the spokes, even in the little wheel lug nut areas. Clean it all really well. And then let it dry for about an hour. Then you'll spray paint this area once it's prepared with the primer I just showed you, the self-etching primer. Do a light coat, let it dry for about 10 minutes, a second and a third coat. And don't forget to get in between all the spokes. We're not going to mess with the insides of the wheels deep inside the area, because if you just clean those out, they'll actually look fine and presentable. Again, we're not going for a Concours level quality. We're just getting them presentable and nice without spending $1,000. So you get that all prepared, get it all ready for paint. Now let's move to the next wheel I have already primed. This one's already been primed with the SEM self-etching primer. It's already dry and it's really stuck really hard to the wheel. Now we have a nice, clean, prepped surface for paint to go on. You can see everything's ready to go. It's all clean, prepped, ready for paint. If you can believe, this was actually just as bad as the other one we just started on. It was really badly etched. It was bad. Now it's got a nice clean surface that's been sanded, removed all the bad clear coat, and it has a nice primed surface. And like I mentioned, yes, I know the tires are painted. It's not a big deal. It's getting new tires. I'm going to show you real quick using the caliper paint. Once you have the priming done and it's dried, you may have to get that little Scotch-Brite pad and kind of sand any rough spots. Clean it with not with any chemicals, just a rag. Then it's time for caliper paint. You want to put a light coat on any of these 3 cans that I showed you. You don't just blob it on. It'll run and it'll look really bad. So we'll do a first light coat. Make sure to shake it up. Oh, and by the way, I have these far enough away from other cars so that there's no overspray. You want to think about that. If it's windy out and I sprayed this, it could blow it all over that Lambo, all over the Ferrari. That would be bad. But there is no wind in the shop at all, and it just kind of just falls to the floor. Make sure you're not painting 6 inches away from a Ferrari. That would be bad. Here we go. Make sure we're getting in between the spokes, a little circular motion. You notice as I move to the next position, I let go of the nozzle. I don't just hold it down and keep spraying. I psh, and then move to the next spot. I psh, and move to the next spot, and then psh, like this. And then that's the first coat. And we stop there. We'll let it dry, and we do that 2 or 3 more times till we have a nice even silver coating, which I already have on the next wheel. This one's already had the silver caliper paint put on. It has 3 coats. It's nice and shiny. I have this little plate here with the cap. One thing you want to do once it dries is you want to put a cap, the actual cap color next to it, and see, is that what you were expecting? Is this the color you want before you do all your wheels? Because I've had paint in before where I spray paint it, I compare, and I'm like, that's not exact. It's a lot darker or lighter than I wanted. So make sure you're good to go with the color. I'm happy with it. Are you happy, Mrs. Wizard?
It does look a whole lot better than they were when we got them.
They looked terrible before. So now we have an aluminum colored wheel, kind of a silver aluminum color. The final step is to go ahead and actually put the clear coat on. You don't have to. You can have this matte finish if you want, but the clear coat keeps the dust off and also makes it easier to wash, and it gives a nice gloss appearance. So here we are with the wheel gloss. This is clear coat, and just like we did on the other wheel with the caliper paint, we didn't hold the spray nozzle down and just spray constantly, because that causes runs, and runs are really bad. So we'll do the same procedure, 3 coats. We'll do the first coat and let it dry, a second coat, and a third coat, about 10 minutes in between. Again, hold it about 8 to 10 inches away. Don't just glob it on. There is a temptation to just glob it and put it thick and let it dry and be done in 1 coat. You can't do that, it'll run. Here we go. Okay, we have the first coat on. We'll let that dry. Let's go look at the finished product. Just look at the difference, guys. This one over here is embarrassing to go driving around in a GT500 in. This just looks so bad. And now, these look like fairly new wheels. Again, are they showroom perfect? No. But it'll last 3 to 5 years. It costs 50 bucks, and it looks so much better. And again, to reiterate, I'm getting all new tires, so this and the valve stems will be replaced. So with all these improvements, the suspension clunks are gone. The weird wallowing feeling in the steering is gone. It's a quiet drive, smooth like the way it should be, except for the tires. They have bad flat spots, and like I've mentioned like 5 times already, it's getting all new tires. And also we have the door cards or the door panels taken care of where it's nice and new again. This is a common problem with all of these years of Mustangs, 05, 6, 7, 8. This is just a permanent fix. It's not going to fall or come off again. So definitely wanted to share with you guys a quick little tip how you can make your wheels look nicer for 50 bucks. If you're expecting perfection, you probably should take them to a wheel shop and pay the 200 bucks a wheel and get them done. But they look so much better. Totally presentable on a 210,000 mile Mustang. If you're curious what kind of tools we use to fix all this, check our Amazon affiliates link in the description below. We get a small cut if you purchase anything. We appreciate it. All the paint we use today will be down in the description as well with Amazon. Also, those door panels that we had put on that makes it look so much cleaner now, those are on our Amazon affiliates link as well. So go click in that link below. You can purchase those for your car too. Check out Mrs. Wizard's Ways. She's got some really cool videos going on there. And also hit the subscribe button here because we have tons more videos coming down the pike for you guys. Thanks for watching.